Hi guys! So I thought I would do a story time video for the first time. The one I'm going to tell today is kind of... Firstly, this video will contain explicit language because it is called for. But back when I lived with my parents, I think it was about 2008, I'd just finished university, come back down to London, you know, got a new job and everything. I'd been at the job about a year. But I was getting the train from just outside London into central London every day. One morning, I just go to the train station as usual. I think I was wearing some kind of like denim leggings. I was wearing my fake Ugg boots, you know, the cheap ones where eventually your foot kind of treads on, not on the sole of the shoe. They go a bit weird and get soggy as hell and are crap in generally all weather. But yeah, I was wearing those, and then I can't remember what I had on my top half, but it's kind of irrelevant. I think I was like 22 at the time, but I looked younger. So I go to the train station as usual, and I noticed this creepy looking guy on the train platform. And I'm like, oh yay, great, because I see him staring at me. I move away from him as I can kind of just tell there's something not right with him. There's something going on. He was creeping me out, and it takes a lot for me to be creeped out. Even when I was like younger, like 22, it takes a lot to creep me out. And he was just there staring, you know, being all creepy looking and stuff with his ferret looking face. So I move along the platform kind of to get away from him, and he follows me. Slowly, really slowly, like a creepy like stalker snail. Kind of follows me, kind of just ambling along, like trying to make it look like he wasn't following me, I guess. I obviously notice because I'm like creepo alert. Like my radar is fucking on and on full fucking alert. So I double back on myself and I go back along the other end of the platform and he follows me. By this point, I'm getting pretty damn pissed off with the motherfucker. I warned you about the language at the start of the video. So he finally comes up to me. He starts a conversation with me, a really weird conversation, because I remember thinking at the time, what a fucking weirdo. He started talking to me about my Ugg boots, or my fake Ugg boots, but he was a guy, you know, he didn't know they were fake Ugg boots, so he just thought they were Ugg boots. Well, I guess the brand's irrelevant, he just liked the look of them. And he was asking me, like, were they comfortable? I can't remember the exact, like, all the exact questions he asked me, but there were about 3 or 4, just, like, talking to me about my Ugg boots. And I was just like, you know, like being polite. I didn't want to tell him to go fuck himself. I was just being nice and polite, like smiling and nodding, like, yeah, you know, yeah, they're very comfortable. Yeah, you know, it's cold, blah, blah, blah. Then the train comes and I'm like, thank you, Jesus. Jesus has nothing to do with it. But at the time I was like, thank you, Jesus. The train comes. So I go, I shoot up the absolute end of that train platform. I don't want to be near this guy. You know, I just don't want to be near him. And what does the motherfucker do? He gets onto the same entrance as me, the same carriage. And I'm like, great, stuck with creepo for the next like 20 minutes or however long it takes. And it's a rush hour train, so there were no seats and lots of people were standing. So I'm there I'm like, oh great, so I like, you know, face that way. Then, guess who stood right behind me? That motherfucker. Oh, and I'm like, oh, great. This is perfect. Just what I need on a morning. I'm going to say Monday morning, but it probably wasn't a Monday morning. But you know what I mean. Just what I need first thing in the morning before a day at work. He gets closer. So at this point, he's pretty much pressed against my back. And yeah, it was a packed train, but it wasn't that packed. Ooh. And then what happens? I feel a hand being pressed against my bum, and I wasn't very happy about it. Let's put it that way. You kind of stand there for like, I guess, a millisecond because you're thinking, is this for real? Is it an accident? Is it, you know, but his hand did not move. Well, it did, but it didn't move away, you know? I chose the option of publicly humiliating him. It's always a good one. Knowing what I know about everything else now, I wish I had reported it to the police. I kind of turned around a little bit and I was like, would you stop touching me? and then I kind of walked further down into the train carriage. I was kind of at the end of my tether. Oh, okay, I need to calm down a little bit. So that happens, and he doesn't say anything by that point. So everyone kind of knows he did it by that point, because if he hadn't have touched me, he would have been like, whoa, whoa, like, I didn't touch her, everyone, I didn't touch her. He didn't do that. He just looked down at the floor and just stayed his creepy little ass, just stayed right there. He didn't try and follow me again. So I get to work, I kind of tell everyone at work, because I pretty much, as you can tell, I tell everyone everything. If something happens to me, like, I don't ever filter, I'll tell you. Fast forward about a year, I think it was, and I happened to see a news article online. Now, the title of this news article, like the headline, was "Ugg Boot Fetishist Sent to Jail." I had a funny feeling about that before I even clicked on it. I mean, usually I probably wouldn't click on it, but I had to click on it because I had a really funny feeling. Lo and behold, I open the article, and whose creepy little ferret face do I see staring back at me in the little mugshot? It's him. It's bloody him. I'm usually not even good at recognising people, but he had such a distinctive face. I start reading the article, because I'm like, what did he get sent to jail for? Like, what did he do? Like, it's clearly something to do with Ugg boots, the fucking weirdo. I get people have different fetishes, I get that, but you don't then impose those on other people without them knowing, you know? I found a few web pages online which had this news article still on, so I will read it to you. If you are triggered by, how do I say this, possible paedophilia, things like that, if you are triggered by anything like that, please stop watching. The last thing I want to do is trigger any of you guys. So let's get into it. A pervert obsessed with girls wearing sheepskin Ugg boots who harassed a group of West Yorkshire schoolgirls after getting details on social networking websites accepts he would benefit from chemical castration, a court was told. Fantasist, bleep bleep, his name, infiltrated a network of teenagers at one school by cloning their web pages, posing as their friends, and using faked email addresses to chat with them. Using sites like Facebook, MSN and MySpace, he learned background information to help him act as though he was one of the girls. He also obtained mobile phone numbers from some of them and began bombarding them with calls, often in the middle of the night. The prosecutor said he'd also developed an online boyfriend-girlfriend relationship with a 15-year-old girl by posing as a fictional 28-year-old man. He tried to get her to perform sex acts on a webcam, but she refused. Bloody well done her, I have to say, just fucking bravo. Sometimes it takes a lot, you know, to say no to someone. If you feel like you know them and if you feel like they're your boyfriend or whatever, so fucking bravo to that girl. On a different occasion, he told her he would like to get another girl around and drug her so he could do what he wanted to her. She took that as a joke, but the court heard police had been concerned in the past about Bleep's behaviour because he had twice bought chloroform on the internet. He became fascinated with one girl in particular, aged 14, and would ask her friends what she was doing and wearing, particularly relating to the fashionable Ugg boots. He even posed as her father, ringing her school to try and get more information about her, but that ultimately led to his arrest. Thank God. Police then found an enormous number of non-indecent, so not indecent, photographs of unidentified teenage girls wearing Ugg boots on his mobile phone. So I'm assuming that I'm on there, even though I wasn't a teenager at the time. Despite his commenting on what they were wearing on occasions, he never travelled to West Yorkshire or physically met any of the girls. He recognised he had a problem and needed help. He basically accepted that chemical castration would be a benefit for him. He admitted 3 charges of inciting sexual activity involving a 15-year-old girl and 6 charges of harassing other teenage girls aged 14 to 18. Basically, when he claimed to be this girl's father, he phoned the school and asked for her bloody mobile number, saying he was separated from her mother and that he'd lost it. The school receptionist refused to give the number and made him leave his, And that is basically what led to him being traced after people knew that her parents weren't separated. Some of the girls had realised web pages had been cloned and the person contacting them wasn't that person, and they stopped talking to him on the internet. But it did not stop his phone calls, and when one girl's older sister tried to intervene, he began ringing her, saying her name repeatedly in a creepy voice. He had sought medical help in the past for his sexual problems. I mean, I guess that is something. And was glad that psychiatric reports on him indicated some help, I guess, might be available. So, yeah, he was sentenced for 4 years in prison. So he's out by now, but he was on like a, what do they call it? He was on probation or something for another 4 years after he got out from jail. So they can track him and check he's not doing anything he shouldn't be. So that was a heavy storytime video. First of all, the girl who refused to perform sexual acts for him on webcam, she's obviously amazing because she's a young girl, you know. It's hard sometimes when you feel like you're being pressured. And then that school receptionist and I think it was a PE teacher who were like, we won't give you her number, but why don't we take yours? That led to his arrest. So well done them. So yeah, that was my first ever storytime video. And it's not an upbeat video. It's not my usual carefree one. It's a fucking serious subject. If anyone ever assaults you, touches you in a way that you don't want, like on the train, wherever really, not just on the bloody train, wherever, bring attention to it and then report it to the police. Don't really know how to end this video. Bit of a rant because it's just that type of video, I guess, that type of storytime video. It's not like I walked in on my boyfriend cheating. I have, you know, I tripped and fell down a bloody thing of stairs. If you would like me to do more storytime videos, then leave a thumbs up, because I have a few like other things that would be interesting. Not as bloody serious as this one, I might add. Thank you guys for watching this far, if you made it this far, and I'll see you all next time. See ya!